In today's episode, we're going to look what's been happening in Brazil in the first half of 2025. Activity levels, they've been high, and Brazil offshore continues to deliver. We might also mention one or two items that we haven't mentioned from 2024. So, world map, there's Brazil. It's currently the 9th largest oil producer in the world at around about 3.3 million barrels of oil per day. There's global oil production up until 2022. Well, we should soon have more recent data coming out of the Energy Institute, but that's global oil production around about sort of just 90 some million barrels. The green band there is South and Central America. If we home in on that region, big producers in the region. Well, Venezuela, although it's taken a big nosedive of late, and we did a video about that. Brazil, and looking at it on its own, there's been a steady increase from the early 1980s right through up until 2022. Brazil aims to be a top 5 global oil producer by 2030. They're aiming for 5 million barrels of oil a day. Can they achieve it? Well, keep watching the channel and see. It's a 40% plus increase from current levels, and it's being propelled by a series of large platforms and fields due to enter operation in the Santos Basin pre-salt province over the next few years. Watch this space. So let's start with a quick look around at what's happening. So the Pau-Brasil well, touted as BP's first wildcat in the pre-salt province for over 10 years. It's been drilled in the Santos Basin, spudded in mid-June, drilled with the Valaris drill ship, shown here in the picture on the top. Water depth, it's ultra deep water, 2,283 meters. BP plans to drill 4 wells in the Pau-Brasil area, current drilling. So this is the second well. Pre-salt target, the BP pre-salt exploration program. There's the location, Valaris Renaissance. Its current location, as shown on marine traffic. You can see all the shipping lanes. A lot of these ship movements, you can see, are only going out as far as the offshore platforms and then going back to the beach. But there are some lines that go on across the South Atlantic. So, quick update on Buzios. Well, we've been following Buzios for some time now. There are 6 FPSOs currently producing on the field. The latest, the FPSO Almirante Tamandaré, started up first oil in February 2025. In total, there's going to be 12 FPSOs. On the map here, we can see that there's 5 FPSOs on the west flank of the field and 1 on the east flank of the field. The latest FPSO, that's the one highlighted there and shown the label next to it. Mero nearby, another field with FPSOs on it and more planned, and Itapu over to the west. So Buzios, it's operated by Petrobras. It's a huge field and it's going to be very, very active for years to come. They also have announced a new productive layer. It's below the main reservoir and it was discovered by the Carolina rig back in February of 2025. So there's been new adds and new additions to Buzios. This is the oil production by facility. You can see as each one of the FPSOs gets added, the capacity goes up. Now initially the dynamic producer, it was an EWT essentially. It was producing in the mid 2000 teens up to about 2017. Then in came the first of the FPSOs, and most recently the Almirante Barroso is shown here. With the addition of the Almirante Tamandaré, the capacity, well, it's gone up to something like 950,000 barrels of oil per day. And right now, by the looks of it, the field is in a sort of a little bit of a decline for the last year or so. But then as this new FPSO ramps up, that'll probably be halted and reversed, and we should see an increase. So Petrobras is certainly bringing more FPSOs online. The third FPSO from Mero field started production October the 30th, 2024. Again, Santos Basin, pre-salt. There's the 4th FPSO. It's the Mero 4, and it came on stream in May 2025. Alexandra de Gusmao. So this latest FPSO, named after Maria Quiteria, the national heroine, first woman to serve. She was in the Brazilian War of Independence back in 1882. So Petrobras again, and this time it's in the Aram block. It's a 2-well program started back in January of 2025. The discovery was made back in 2021. It lies within the giant Aram pre-salt area, again in the Santos Basin. It's pre-salt carbonates is the reservoir. The first appraisal was a success, and Petrobras, in the press release that they put out, they actually referred to it as the second discovery in the block. I'm not entirely sure whether that's an appraisal or it's at a different horizon. It's come in on a separate structure. But anyway, lots of activity in the region, and it looks like it's good news. Second appraisal is currently drilling. So the Alto de Cabo Frio Central Block appraisal well, this is again Petrobras, and it's drilling an appraisal well with the West Polaris rig, spudded on the 24th of February 2025. Drill ship, you can see there, that's going to be appraising the field. And if that scale bar is right, it's a very impressive size of the field. You can see that it's an area where lots of majors have actually taken out acreage positions. Petrobras are also involved in wildcat drilling a well at CM477 block, Campos Basin. There's also a contingent well, which is an option on the program, and it's using the ODN2 drill ship, pictured here. There's the two wells shown on the map. So as we head south of the Santos and Campos basins, we get to the Pilatus Basin. There's basically going to be 3 wells drilled here. Petrobras are seeking planning permission, POCO 1, 2, and 3. These are going to be the first ultra-deep wells drilled in the basin. We'll be following these, and I'm sure there's a lot of interest to see what these wells find. Come back in a few months' time and I'll tell you the results of these wells. So in the news recently is the FID on a production boosting project on the Golfino field. Now this is BW Energy. They have had the Golfino license since an acquisition back in 2023. It's in the Espiritu Santo Basin, and water depths, well, deep water to ultra deep water. There's an FPSO that's been operating since November 2023. 6 producers, basically Cretaceous, Campanian and Maastrichtian age reservoirs tied back to the FPSO. The field's been going since 2007, and it's offloads to shuttle tankers and pipeline to the shore to take the gas away. The FID is basically recovering gas lift and new ESPs for some of these subsea wells. Now, Ecuador have reported that the Bacalhau has arrived in the Santos pre-salt basin. It's the Bacalhau and Bacalhau Norte fields, Equinor operated. You can see the location on the map, bottom left. It's in the pre-salt, arrived back in February 2025, and there's a map of the field and the location of the FPSO Bacalhau. It won't be long before this is being commissioned and will achieve first oil. So next up we take a look at Prio's operations in the Campos Basin. Now this is the Wahoo field development. Basically they've got a license granted to go ahead and drill. 4 producers and 2 injectors are planned. It's going to be using the Hunter Queen drill ship, and it's a tieback to the field to the south, the Frayed fields. It's about 35 kilometers. Many of these maps are basically thanks to posts on LinkedIn by Catalyst Data Management, and they do a great job of showing where all the fields are and the activity in the region. So now if we have a look at the continued development of Atlanta and Papa-Terra, these fields are operated by Brava Energy, which is a merge between 3R Petroleum and Enuata. They've announced a development program for this particular accumulation. 2 more wells planned for Papa-Terra and 2 wells planned for Atlanta. It's possible there could be a 5th well. This is looking at a nearby prospect, an opportunity, Malombe, and FID for this expected to be in 2026. Activities or drilling activities, they're going to start in the end of 2025. This is in the heavy crudes area of the Santos Basin. An update from Karoon Energy. This is on the Santos Basin. Now this map takes a little bit of getting used to. So there's the Santos Basin, the southwest end of it, and you see they've blown up this piece to show you where the Neon well is relative to other fields and accumulations in the area. And then this area in turn is blown up and shown over here. You can see Neon West prospect. There's 2 wells on Neon, and the original well here, Echidna, flowed 39 API oil. That's about 4,500 barrels of oil per day. Reserves on the field, well, resources to be correct, because there's 87 million barrels of 2C contingent resources. They'll only become reserves when the FID is approved. The block is SM 1037, and we'll be following this story with interest. Shell wildcat drilling on the Ariranha prospect, Shown on the map here, drilling with the Valaris Renaissance drill ship, spotted in February in the Campos Basin, just south of Rea Manta and Rea Pintada. These two fields shown up to the north of the current prospect. Lots of companies, lots of interest and prospects in the region. Latest news, and this coming from Welligence, it's the FID on Shell's Gato do Mato. Back in March 2025, they approved the investment. It's Santos pre-salt again and subsea wells tied back to an FPSO. This time it's a MODEC contract. Startup, first oil, probably about 2029. Partners Eco Petroleum and Total Energies, and said to hold 370 million barrels of recoverable gas condensate. Now, these are reserves because that's the FID being approved. We note that back in April 2025, Total Energies actually had signed an agreement. They've come out of this particular opportunity. There's been a swap on board for their interests in Lapa, exchange of a 20% non-operated interest in Gato do Mato project for an additional 3% in Lapa. So as for the future, well, we stated earlier, Brazil's aiming for 5 million barrels of oil a day by 2030, and then thereafter a sort of a decline is anticipated. Now they need new exploration filling the hopper. That's what's going to be required to keep sustaining production and even grow production into the future. In terms of license rounds, well, the fifth cycle of the Permanent Concession Offer, or OPC, is underway. The pre-salt areas round was planned for mid-2025. Bid presentations, 17th of June. There's 332 onshore and offshore blocks focused on the Campos and Santos basins. A record number of blocks available. 30 companies have been confirmed as eligible to bid, so there's still an awful lot of interest in offshore Brazil. You can see the areas here on the map, but there's also some additional areas. There's a very high density of blocks available for the Santos and Campos, including 21 pre-salt blocks. They'll actually be auctioned in a separate pre-salt process. But as well as that, we've got other areas outside of the Campos and Santos. We've got the equatorial margin areas, mostly the Foz do Amazonas and the Potiguar Basin. So a lot of interest in these regions right now. And there's a map of the southern region, and this is the southern Santos and the Pilatus Basin down in the south, towards Uruguay. So just as we went to recording of this video, some of the license round results were announced. Petrobras, they've reported acquiring 10 blocks in the Foz do Amazonas, 5 operated and 5 with ExxonMobil as operator, each holding 50% in all 10 blocks. 3 awards in the Pilatus Basin down in the south, which is Petrogal, also known as the Portuguese company Galp, and with Equinor being awarded a block in the Santos Basin. Now, there will be more news to come, and we will be following that in future episodes. Also in the news, well, there's a bill expected to go through, which is going to make some of the environmental permitting, certainly in the equatorial margin, less onerous. I mean, there have been some horrific stories about rigs that have been sat for months and months waiting for permission to drill on location, burning lots and lots of wasted money and just waiting for permission to go ahead and drill. So now there will be pushback or interest from the environmentalist groups because obviously with Top 30 being hosted in Brazil, there may be some harsh words, but certainly the situation was getting ridiculous and it needed to be redressed. So what conclusions can we draw from this latest update? Well, Brazil is aiming for the stars and it wants to become the 5th largest oil producer, and it's currently on target. Well, there are more FPSOs coming in and some of the big fields are really starting to deliver. Not the same climate-focused production ramp down as we see in Europe, but with the COP30 in Belém, hopefully it'll be seen that the oil and gas operators are actually making a very decent job of looking after the environment, particularly in the sensitive ultra-deep water areas. New FPSOs and developments, along with a long-term exploration strategy. Got to keep looking for oil, got to keep drilling those exploration wells. And I'm hoping to get over to Rio at some time in the next 12 months just to have a look at this fantastic country. Hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and if you ring the bell, you'll get notified when new videos come out. The name, well, I'm going to give my Portuguese a rest today. I'm doing these videos and using names in Vietnamese and Chinese, and I think I've butchered enough languages for one lifetime. Shell, well, they're wildcat drilling the Ariranha, Arirana. Oh.